Welcome to The Voiceover with your host, Dee Foster III, where we discuss relevant topics that affect the culture with bold, independent commentary. Get ready to be inspired, enlightened, and encouraged.
All right, share the link as we get started tonight. Just a few more hours before a brand new year. And what a year, what a year. That's why I thought it was necessary for you to hear this so that we can position ourselves to be ready to see what this year is going to bring. We are open, Spirit of God. We are open to receive all that you have for us, all that you have for those who will view this by social media, all who are present in our place and space now. As you speak to the collective, you speak to us as individuals. We thank you for the prophetic word. You said you'll do nothing in the earth except you reveal it to your servants, the prophets first. So, Father, we are sons and daughters of Issachar, ready to hear, but more importantly, ready to realign and reposition ourselves for 2025. In Jesus' name, amen. Come on in, share. All right, I want to get right on into it. I appreciate your time. Your time is valuable, especially on New Year's Eve. So this is called the prophetic forecast for 2025. And I'm going to touch a little bit, as much as time will permit, on 2026. Now, if I had to label this year, it's going to be the year of crossing over, the year of crossover, which means this year, 2025, we step into a whole brand new experience. We step into feeling our way. We step into some uncertainty, but it will not be concreted, I feel, until 2026. So next year is when I say this year, I'm already in 2025. It is a year of the crossover. We're stepping out of something, and that'll make much more sense to you in a few minutes. We're stepping out of something this year, and we're stepping into something that we have never, ever experienced. You better believe that. It is a whole brand new experience and a whole brand new life. If I also had to categorize 2025, it's called waking up to a new world, a new system, a new energy, a new flow. There are things happening in the earth today that have never happened before. And we are privileged to, matter of fact, let me go back a little bit, and I have so much to cover. This began to be birthed in 2020. And those of you who are part of Wake Up, you've heard me say this before. 2020 was a watershed year with all its ups and its downs. Everything that we are walking into now in 2025, the birth of it began in 2020. Again, our perspective was different because we were caught up in what was happening in the natural level with all of the diseases and things like that. But there was a bigger global picture that we failed to see. And many missed the fact that in the midst of 2020, especially March 2020, that the world began to drastically change. I mean, look at it. Look at all the changes. Zoom made its biggest profit. So, I mean, we knew about Zoom, but not to the degree we do now. Social media increased. People began to communicate by social media. Education changed. Our children were learning online, and some still are. There are a lot more online opportunities when it comes to education. Spiritual worship changed. There are a lot of ministries now. They're on YouTube. They may be back in the physical building, but they're on social media now. They were never on YouTube or Facebook. They might have had a page or website. So 2020 was the birthing ground, or it was the breeding ground for these changes that we're going to walk into in 2025. But it started in 2020. but we're going to see actually walk into it, I believe, in 2025. So it's the year of waking up to a brand new world, waking up to brand new energy. And I know a lot of people may not like that word, but everything is energy. Everything we are. And I believe we're going to find that out even as 2025 continues, that we're waking up to the fact that we are more than humans. And y'all know me, I'm just flowing, that we're waking up to the fact that we are spiritual beings, and not just hearing it from a heavenly position, but hearing it from manifesting right here on earth, that we are spiritual beings and we are divinely connected to one another. So I want to share that because that's very vital. I'm just in the introduction here. This is very vital. The energy of January 2020, and it was enhanced in March 2020, begin the birthing of this new world. So it's not been overnight, right? It's just been, we didn't become aware of it until after we got through the drama of mask, no mask, shot, no shot. We went through that drama on the collective for about a good year or so. Then we went right out of that drama into president, who's going to be the next president? Is this president? So we were in drama after drama. So really the smoke didn't clear until about 2023, last year, where we finally began to look beyond the drama and say, wait a minute, something is really happening on the planet. Something is really going on in the midst of all of the drama. Something is happening. And so we just really begin to awaken. And that's what 2025 is. It's the year of the grand. I love it. The year of the grand awakening. Now, for those of you who are just joining us on this New Year's Eve for the first time, the purpose of this moment is to look back or to look into 2025 and 2026 to reveal, to see what's going to unfold. Why? So that we can be positioned to live our lives and to thrive and not just survive, not be a victim, right? But be victorious. And most importantly, not be taken by surprise. There's not be taken by surprise. So just to bring clarity for these next few minutes. Hello, yes, from my niece, good afternoon, good night on this New Year's Eve. It's so great to see all of you that are chiming in on the chats. So my entrance or my approach to this is going to be a little different, right? So let me see how I can say it. My entrance into the prophetic will be like unto the plane using the runway to take off, right? So I'm going to use a little of what's going on in the heavenlies, but then we're going to get into the spiritual aspect. First the natural, then the spirit. So the astrology will be the runway, but the voice of the spirit will be our main course as we're flying through the air. Now, for all the skepticals, because this is New Year's Eve, so people are flipping through. You say, well, by what authority do you do this? And you're right. But let me start off by giving you two passages. Then I'm going to drop it right where it is. I'm going to leave that there. And I'm going to get on with what the agenda is for tonight. Like, subscribe, share. It says, surely the sovereign Lord, the NIV version of Amos 3, surely the sovereign Lord will do nothing without revealing his plan to his servants, the prophets. Okay? You can study that out for yourself. And then the next one is St. John 16:13. But when he, the Spirit of truth, comes, he will guide you into all truth. He will not speak on his own. He will speak only what he hears and will tell you what is to come. And will tell you what is to come. So one of the job of the Holy Spirit's job is not to make us shout, fall out, feel good, emotionalize, but it is to show us the future. And that's what we're in tonight. Now, time permitting, y'all know it's always an issue with me with time. I have more to say than I have time, right? But anyway, so time permitting, we're going to start with what does it mean to be a number 9 year? Yes. Number one, what will be the catalyst that ushers in this new world? Because everything has a catalyst. That's going to be fun. 2025, we've already talked about that, the year of spiritual awakening. Now, y'all know I'm not going to get through all of this, right? We will be wrapping up history at the same time, opening history in 2025. Then I want to talk about technology in the new world, the economy in the new world, spirituality in the new world, sexuality in the new world, and the landscape of politics in the new world. Now you say, if you know me, you are not going to get through all of that tonight, and you are absolutely right, but I'm going to sure give it a hell of a try. That's what I'm about to do. I'm going to sure give it a try. So let's begin. Let's break down 2025. Okay, 2025 breaks down to a number 9 year. Now, this is very powerful. 2025 breaks down to a number 9 year. If you're just joining in on this New Year's Eve, what's up? Share, like, follow. Come on, don't turn it off. Tune in. That's right. 2025, get whatever you drink. You can bring that to my center. Yes. The stronger the better. Come on, let's bring it on. Yes. 2025 is a number 9 year. I think I bring some water. All right, it's a number 9 year. Now, how do we get that? 2 plus 2 plus 5 equals 9, right? So it's a number 9 year. Now, this is a very powerful number out of the numerology because number one, it is the number of completion. What do I mean? Out of the cycle of the single numbers, 9, think about it, out of all of the numbers that you can count up to a billion, a trillion, 9 is the last single number in numerology. This speaks to the fact that 2025 is a year of completions, right? What do I mean by completions? Wrapping up. It doesn't mean it's going to all be over, but it is going to be a year of wrapping up things which no longer serve us, inclusive of habits, right? There's some habits or traditions or practices that no longer serve us. We're going to begin to wrap those things up because 9 is the number of completion. There are people who have served out their purpose in our evolution, right? We're going to begin to wrap up those relationships. I know that's a delicate one, but I don't have time to go into that. But everyone comes in our lives for a particular reason. You've heard it, season or lifetime. The minority is lifetime. The majority is season or reason. In the spirit, if we are attentive to that, will give us clues, subtle clues on that. Subtle intuition, settle hunches on that. So 2025, we're going to begin to wrap up some relationships that we know have been over. We know that. We know that they have been over, but we have not done the work to bring them to completion. Well, that's going to take place in 2025. I always say this. We surrender to the present to yield the benefits and the fruit of something greater in the future. Why? Get this principle if you don't get anything else. Because nature abhors a void. Nature, the universe, abhors a void. So we can never give anything up if we give it up consciously, deliberately, and that space stays empty for long. Because nature, the universe, will find a void and fill it. If we give it up consciously, that's the key. So here's what I would recommend in 2025. Surrender. Let it go naturally. Let it go. Don't fight to hold it. Don't fight it like they said. If it don't fit, don't force it. That can never be so much true in 2025. If it doesn't fit, don't force it. If they don't fit, don't force it. If that habit no longer fits, if that job no longer fits, don't force it. Why? Because we are beginning to come into alignment, true alignment with our soul's purpose. Now, I don't want to go too deep into this, but everything that is not in alignment with why we are here, we're going to begin to see those things just drop off or come to completion in 2025, because it's about our soul's purpose and why we agreed, why we are here, and what we have come here to do. And does that thing, that person, that habit, do they assist me in that? Or do they pull me from that? Okay? All right, good evening. I'm glad to see everyone. Come on in if you're just looking at the video. We want to say welcome. We're talking about the power of a number 9 year, 2025. So it is people that no longer serve us, or I would say serve our highest spiritual good. Jeremiah 29, I know the thoughts that I think of you, thoughts of good, not of evil, to lead you to an expected or an exceptional end. We're expediting to that end. Time is forcing us, pushing us towards purpose. We can no longer stand around and lollygag relative to purpose and why we're here. This is a part of this great awakening. We are realizing who we are. We are realizing why we're here. We are realizing that we are on an assignment. We are realizing that I didn't just come to get up, go to work, come home, do what I do. I'm here for a greater purpose. That's a major part of the awakening. And when I awaken to that, and when I really realize that, then it becomes not easy, but easier to drop or to surrender to those things, or to surrender to those people, or to surrender to those habits, or to surrender to those belief systems, or to surrender to that environment that no longer serves my highest spiritual evolution or my highest spiritual purpose, right? I may be using words interchangeably, but you know what I'm talking about. That it has to serve in 2025, it has to service your evolution or why you are here. If not, watch it disappear. Watch them disappear. Watch that disappear. And it's not that it's disappearing. Now, let me go somewhere. I'm trying to keep it basic. Is that it no longer has the energetic flow to maintain your presence. It no longer has, there's no longer the equality. That's what I say. Of the flow of the energy, the flow of the presence to maintain it. So everything that is a lower vibration, that's the word I was looking for, then you, bam, because you're growing, you're evolving, you're maturing, you're spiritually awakening. And everything that is not, that has been in our life in the past, it has to drop off. It has to drop off because there's nothing there to sustain it. And that's good news. So you don't have to force it. This is the point that I'm making. It's not a force. It's going to be automatic because the energy that you possess in the presence of God in you that you are aware of demands that it is so. You know, we've been so used to holding on till we hold on at the expense of putting a cap over our spiritual growth and our spiritual development. And that ain't happening this year because let me preface this too. Usually we say Happy New Year, Happy New You. And we say that, well, you only have a great of a new year as it is a new you. And I agree partly. This year, whether you become a new you or I become a new me or not, the atmosphere around us is going to be new. See, this hasn't been before. Usually the new year we say, well, it's based on what I do internally. And that's still partly true. But what is coming in is beyond our control. It's beyond our power to stop it. And even if, and I know this will not be true for those of you who are viewing this, even if you decided not to change, if you decided not to surrender, if you decided to stay stuck, I'm just saying, you still would be forced to change externally because what's coming in externally cannot be stopped. It will not be. And I'm going to get to some of those things. It will not be. Everything is changing. Okay? So, number 9 is the year of completion. We will see 2025 bring a communation to many of the old ways of doing things. Here it is again. Here's get this. And the old ways of how we approach life. Most people are approaching life the way they approach life, not all, not us, but a lot of people. And they're going to be forced to approach life, to approach circumstances, to approach situations differently. So the way we've been approaching life, right? The way we've been approaching certain institutions in the culture, we don't have to change our approach because everything about that institution has changed. The way people approached spirituality 20 years ago, you have to approach that very differently now. Because what? There's a new spiritual awakening. The old traditions of spirituality are dying. They no longer exist. Watch this, what people believed who God was 20 years ago is very different than people's approach to God, to spirituality today. So when we say there's a completion of the many old ways of doing things and how we approach life, That means my outlook, my consciousness. Y'all follow? I'm saying a lot of stuff tonight. My consciousness has to expand regarding that. Case in point, I'll give you a good case in point. The initiation of AI, that's just one thing. The initiation of AI that we'll look at a little bit later as we get into technology is going to it's already forcing us to approach certain areas of life very, very different. That's just one example. Spirituality. There is a hunger for more than just sitting in a pew for a few hours. People are asking questions now. Questions that we can't avoid no more. That's why you see I have sexuality in the New World. Church never really dealt with that except telling you don't have sex. I'm not talking about sex. I'm talking about sexuality. As people awaken to their sexuality and their sexual being, and they have questions, and you can't go on avoiding those questions and stay authentic. You just you just can't do it. That's right. They say just don't do it. But and we're gonna get into that because that's a theme in the New World that's being raised. But the questions are being raised, but there's few answers because we still approaching that subject of sexual. Not we. Most people are still approaching that subject from an old perspective and not the new world that we live. So those are just the economy. When I get into that, fiat currency, paper is on its way out. Somebody asked me the other day for $2. I said, I don't even have any cash on me. I mean, I know some people, have cash, but as you can see for the last couple of years, fiat has been weaning its way out. Checks, paid by checks, personally, weaning its way out. So we have to approach finances. I believe Bitcoin is going to be the future currency, even bigger than it is now. Are we ready for this? Are we ready for this? Or are we still sitting back saying, I don't want anybody to have my information. And I say, the information that they already have? The information that they already have? And these are just a few ways in this number 9 year, this year of completion, that we will see things wrap up, okay? The second thing number 9 stands for is the giving birth to something new. Giving birth. It is the number of birthing something new. 2025, 2026 will find us in two polarities. And I mentioned this briefly a few minutes ago. Finishing, but at the same time beginning. Wrapping it up and starting something. Which means you will be giving birth, if this is your consciousness, to something brand new. Hear this, not a rebirth of a facsimile that you birthed 20 years ago and you just want to do a 2025 version of it. That's not what I'm talking about. When I say the beginning of birthing something brand new, something that may even be strange and different to you, even though you're giving birth to it. And the purpose of you giving birth may not become clear immediately. I want you to hear this because this is how extreme this is. It may come clear over periods of time through evolution. if you don't remember one thing I said tonight, I want you to stick a pin in that. Number 9 is the year of birthing something brand new. Not something new, something brand new. Something that you've never birthed before. And most of the time when we talk about birthing, we talk about rehashing a more modern version of something we used to do or had or was familiar with 10 years ago. We put it down and now we're going to pick it back up. And no, that's not this. This is to the extremity. This is to the extremity. This year, if you allow yourself, if you allow the Spirit, if you go inward, if you meditate, if you do whatever spiritual exercise, pray, that you do something brand new that would compensate what's being released in the earth by the Spirit into the earth will be birthed through you and I. You may not understand it immediately. That doesn't mean abort it. It means sit with it until clarity comes. And clarity comes through growing into it. So you may have to grow into what you birth is so new. You may have to spend time getting clarity. And I know this sounds strange, but I'm talking in the future. I'm not talking to the present tonight. I'm speaking prophetically into the future. So you might not have a reference point of this, but when it happens, at least you'll have a reference point. You give birth to something that is foreign to you, but I don't abort it. And I hear people say this all the time. I ain't never thought about doing this or doing that. Well, we're in an age where Spirit says, are you yielded? Yeah, okay, let me do this through you. And you'll understand it as you sit with it, as you grow into it. But right now, I'm trying to get it into the earth. I'm trying to use you as a midwife to get this idea, this vision, to support what I'm doing. I need you to bring something in on par, not no old stuff, not old energy, not old perspective, not old mindsets, not old. The old is collapsing. And people don't like when I say that. 2020 through 20, as I said at the beginning, 2020 through now has been nothing but the old collapsing, starting with 2020. Everything old started collapsing. And you see people who are bent on power trying to hold it up, but you can't. You can't. You can't sustain that. The concept of leadership, the old triple down, do as I say, started collapsing in 2020 when people now begin to go and study for themselves and get information for themselves and challenge what they had been heard, what they had been hearing for years. And so the old is collapsing. And I hear the Spirit very clearly say, do not be a victim of bringing old energy. Do not be accused of bringing old energy, old thoughts, old ways into a new year. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Don't be accused of don't be accused of bringing old mindsets, old ways of approaching things, old understanding of situations into a new aura. Because 2025 is not just a new year, it's a new aura. E-R-A. It's a new time, T-I-M-E, not just 2025. It's a new day. It's a revolution is taking place. And I'll talk more about that. A revolution is taking place. So Don't be put on the back burner and sat in the corner because you just are a carrier of old energy. Oh my God. There's nothing worse than carriers of the old mindset, the old thinking, the old way of approaching life. Don't be guilty of that this year. Be guilty of surrendering, even though you might understand, as a midwife spiritually. And say what Mary said in the Bible when she was told she was going to bear a son. Now think about it. She was a virgin. And this is almost a parallel. And she was told she was going to bear a son. How shall this be? The Holy Spirit shall come. And then you know what she did? She didn't try to control it. She didn't try to talk him out of it. She said, be it according to I don't understand how this is going to happen. This is a good example. I don't know a man, but if you say it, then I'm willing. That's got to be our attitude in 2025, to stay relevant and to stay a conduit. I don't understand. I've never done this before. But if you said it, Spirit, Father, if you told me to do this, if you're birthing this through me, be it according to your will. That's the person. That's the vessel that the Spirit is going to continue to fill and use to get what he needs, to get what Spirit, to get what Father needs into the earth to accompany what he's doing. That co-laboring spirit, not working against what the Spirit is doing, trying to take us back. I was doing a show the other day. I said, I appreciate those who laid the foundation. I appreciate the fact we stand on their shoulders, but I can't stay on their shoulders. We stand, we get understanding, we get clarity. But don't keep trying to take me back to the old landmark, to the ancient landmarks. That's why I put the landmark there. So when you want to know history, you got that. But I can't keep reliving history. I got to write history. Y'all missed that. We keep trying to relive history instead of writing history. So 2025 is not reliving history. It's writing history. It's doing what never is being bold enough to do what's never been done. Say what's never been said. Move in a way where no one has ever moved before. That's what 2025 is, giving birth to something new. So I'm finishing something, and yet I'm beginning something. I'm embracing something in 2025, but then I'm releasing something. I got one foot in the past, but I got the other one in the present to stabilize me. So when I drag that other foot out of the past into the present. And until 2026, when Saturn fully enters into Aries, we're going to see this whole thing begin to happen. There's a transition. I got one foot, I'm finishing up, but I'm giving birth to something new because there's a lot of quick moving. Things are going to begin to escalate, move fast. Got to keep up. Got to keep up. Got to keep up. Oh. Based upon the major theme of 2025, waking up to a new world, what will be the catalyst to begin to usher in this? I'll finish with the 9 for now. That's 9. What will usher in this new world is something called revolution. That's the catalyst. Everything has a catalyst. And when I think revolution, don't think, well, you can, but the Revolutionary War, all of those kind of things, that's not what I'm thinking. I'm thinking that when we begin to oppose and question the prior status quo, revolution, a revolution, the masses are beginning to wake up to their value in society. When people begin to wake up to their value and realize how well they've been manipulated. When people begin to wake up, revolution, and realize how well they've been controlled by a few. When people begin to wake up, there's a revolution when they begin to understand how well they've been undervalued. And they begin to react in response. Revolution. And the catalyst to this new world is revolution. Now, how does this look? I'm prophesying to you right now in 2025 through 2026, you ain't seen protests, you have not seen strikes, you have not seen picketing, you have not seen boycotting. And I don't mean the marches of the civil rights. I'm talking about where people who've been working in companies wake up and realize, wait a minute, this is $1 billion company and we getting pennies on a dollar? Wait a minute, this is how I'm being treated and I am the profit maker for this company? This is how I'm being treated and I can't provide for my family? Revolution. I just read this morning where I think it was IKEA. They've agreed to stay on strike in some part of Maryland because they have not reached an agreeable bargain. We're going to see more of that. There are farmers already striking in the Netherlands. That's why you go to the stores and you don't see a lot of things on the shelf, or you don't see full shelves, because people are waking up to their value and says, I am worth more than this. In 2025 and 2026, you're going to hear strike after strike after picket after boycott, people in the streets. Prayerfully, it won't get violent, but I'm telling you, when people begin to wake up and realize how they've been manipulated and used and dominated and controlled, something rises up in them. Something rises up in them. And that is on the collective. That is happening across the board. That's happening across, and you know, it's really going to take place in the healthcare. That's right. We are valuable. We bring something to the table. And people are waking up. And again, this awakening is in every area, not just spiritually. People are waking up to their value. That's why they're saying, you know what? I've been in this relationship for 15, 20 years, and you ain't treat me like that no more. What you mean? What I do all of a sudden? It ain't no all. I was asleep. See, I was asleep to the undervalued. But when there's an appointed time to awaken. And when you awaken, it's like the scales fall off. And when those scales fall off, if you're not cautious, you will become angry for all of the times that you look back and you see how you were taken advantage of and you were misused. And if we're not turned inward, we will be tempted to react outward. We are tempted to react outward. But there's an appointed time for man to die now, but there's an appointed time for us to awaken. And when we awaken, those scales fall off, and that's what's happening. And no one can stop it. No one can stop this awakening. It must happen. It must happen. And it will become, you watch, it will become more prolific, where you will see people refusing to be used, refusing to be devalued, refusing to be cheapened, refusing to be manipulated, if they have to take to the streets and walk, if they have to not show up, because we understand, hear this, Pluto moving back into Aquarius, that there's been a shift in power. And the power is no longer at the top, which it should have never been. The power belongs to God, and he gives it to his people. He gives it to his people. That's right. No more sleep in no area. Liberation. And you know, this kind of started in Christendom during 2020, when churches were closed down and people were forced to awaken to the fact, hey, I better understand who God is for myself. I better understand spirituality and they went on a pilgrimage. And some ain't looked back since. Why? Because they awakened to the fact that it was more than I was being told. They awakened to the fact that it may not have been exactly the way I had been told. They awakened to the fact, wait a minute, God is in me. And you can't stop the revolution of an awakened person. Because you know what? They're going to make up for lost time. And that's what we're seeing in this nation. And that's what we're going to see more and more of in 2025. It's a revolution that's going to bring in, to be the catalyst of this new world. I did, those of you who are part of Wake Up, you got the email or the recording on Luigi Mangione. And I put that in perspective. And that was a part of it. People are realizing, wait a minute, the system is unfairly stacked. You can't get no justice in the system. I'm not saying you murder to get it, but you understand the point. How many times you go somewhere and you know you're right, but because you're not a part of that system, you can't get no justice. You can't get no justice. I can tell you story after story after story about people who go on and say, you know what, I'm being abused. I need what is that when they, you can't come within certain feet. I forget, the name is skipping me right now. And they go to court, right? And they hear the stories, you know, and it's not granted. And the next thing you know, somebody ends up not alive, dead, because you can't get no justice. In the world, the energy, yes, thank you, restraining order, trying to get a restraining order. And the world is waking up to the fact that there's no actual justice. And so what's happening when people wake up to that, they revolt against that and says, there is no justice in the system. So we get our own justice, which a lot of times doesn't work out. But I'm just using that as this is where we're going. People are waking up to everything. All the scales are falling off. One of the things that, yes, marginalized and put against each other. We're waking up to the fallen stars, people we admire. We're seeing they're just like us. We had scales that they were better because they were on Hollywood Picture, they were on a band, they were in a group, that they were in Hollywood, that they made movies, that they were producers. And now we're finding out, oh, they just like us. So I don't hold them in that unhealthy place of esteem anymore. I respect them, but I respect me. And this is where it's all coming back to. It's all coming back to how we see ourselves in lieu of others. because we were trained to see others different subconsciously than ourselves. Yes. Oh, yes, we were. And it was on the subconscious. But this whole new energy of 2025, how do you see you? Do you see yourself as just as valuable as a person that owns a bank, as an investor? Do you see yourself just as valuable as the person you report to on your job? This is what this is coming back to. Everything is turning us in because we've been in the Neptunian energy of illusion looking out. Oh, ooh, wow. Living, as I say, living vicariously through other people. And we saw that even those people that people were living vicariously through, their life was only an illusion now that the scales are lifted. And Pluto is in Aquarius saying, you have the power, you have the ability. God created you also. You anointed. You have gifts. You have talents. You're not less. You may not be on TV, but you're equal. You may not have the same amount of money, but you're equal. This is where we're going. We're turning in. Excuse me for being so passionate about that, because we've been out so long. Everything was better than us. Everybody was better than us. Because we dealt with, oh, watch this. Ooh, this is good. This just came up. While we were dealing with our reality, we were mesmerized by other people's fantasies. Let me say that. While we were dealing with our reality, yes, comparison, we were mesmerized by other people's fantasy. Because when the smoke cleared, we realized what we thought was their reality was only their fantasy. And now there's a return to self-value. There's a return to self-value because we understand now that the emperor ain't got no clothes on. The emperor butt behind naked. The emperor is like what God came to Adam and Eve. You got those sheepskins? That's what we've admired. Not authenticity. But we've admired, you put those fake clothes on. Why you do that? Because they told me I was naked. Who told you? How you know you wasn't supposed to stay authentic, AKA naked? Why are you covering? And I'm going to tell you this too. I told y'all I got some. Authenticity is a big theme in 2025, 2026. Authentic, whatever it is, whatever your authentic situation is, own up to it. Don't put fig leaves and aprons on it because it ain't no pins to hold it up. Authenticity. It is what it is. Now, if it's not what it should be, we can work with spirit and begin to grow and change. But to present it as something, I'm telling you, y'all know I've been saying this for about a year and a half. Those who wake up, stay your authentic self. And regardless of what people think, most people are not authentic because they value the opinions of others more than they value who they are. Ooh, y'all taking all these notes? I'm gonna send you. Most people are not authentic because they value what people think over their value of who they are. I don't value people's opinion above, I used to, who I am. I don't care if you don't agree that I have been anointed to understand the heavens and to prophetically predict. That's your issue. You deal with that. But most people, they undervalue themselves and they become unauthentic because they overvalue somebody's opinion above themselves. Other than God, I respect people's opinion, and I hope people respect mine. But to overvalue it above me being authentic, that's something you just got to get over. And that's got to be the attitude. We sang a song for years, Let God Arise. Okay, that's got to be a reality. And authenticity is a part of letting God arise. Being off, he doesn't arise in an environment that is not authenticity. Whatever it is, we can work with it. But whatever it is, and I know this is a very different view of what's coming in the upcoming year. I know most people are getting spiritual and everything deep. No, these are things on the practical level that involve us. It ain't about everything spiritual. Everything is spiritual at the root. But it's these things we've been talking about. Letting go those things that don't serve us. The number 9 year, bringing some things to a completion. Because something new wants to come out of you. I'm speaking into your life. Something new, God wants something new to come out of you. God wants something new to come out of you in 2025. That you introduce something on in this planet that it has never, ever experienced. Yes, practical magic that it has never experienced. That's what time this is. And not be caught up in who doing what. So what? Let them do them, you do you. Every one of us is an expression of God's manifestation. D. Foster 3, imitate it but never duplicate it. Mora, imitate it, but never let people do them. But you got to do you. And when I say do you, do the God in you. Because you are an expression of him. When he wanted to express a character, a personality, guess what he did? He put it in you. He said, now, they're going to express this for me. This is my expression through them in the earth. This is what 2025 looks like. It looks like no other year. So guess what you got to do? You got to do what ain't never been done and be who you've never been. So spend the rest of 2020 letting go of your old self, old habits, old approaches to life, subconsciously, consciously, those old approaches, those old thought patterns, working through that trauma, working through hurt, working through disappointment, not dragging that in to 2025 and 2026, letting go of that, forgetting those things, forgetting, not feeling obligated to what no longer highly serves you. This doesn't assist in where I'm going. And you got to be radical about this. You know, I wish people would take their life serious. Life is serious. We have fun, we joke, we play. Christmas, I had a ball. But life itself, destiny, purpose, why I'm here, I take that serious. Because I want it to always unfold. I want it to unfold. I don't want to be the same person you knew. When you say, I don't know you anymore, great, D, keep doing it. That's progress. I don't know who you are. Good, that's progress. Because if you know who I was, I'm still there. I'm still there. Just some nuggets. So 2025 is going to be a very different year. It's going to feel different. It's going to look different. You're going to try to get a comfort zone, but you ain't going to be able to find it probably till 2026 because it's like a pair of shoes. You're going to buy the shoes in 2025, but they won't feel like your shoes until 2026. Because, you get a good pair of shoes and you say, these shoes tight. They say, all right, well, if you wear them long enough, they'll form fit. That's, if I had to prophetically link what 2025 is going to be, that's 2025. So you're not going to come into the year with form-fitting life, form-fit, comfortable, this, oh yeah, cushy, I know how this going to work. No, you're going to come in trying to, these shoes tight. Don't kick them off. Don't keep wearing them. It's something new. They tight because you never wore them before. They feel uncomfortable because they're not form-fitting yet. But that's your size, that's your length, that's everything. It was measured out for you. The Good Foot store, it was measured out for you. But they don't feel comfortable when you first slide them in, and neither will 2025. But as you keep walking in them, as you put that stretch thing in them, as you take on the form of them, then it starts to feel like my shoe. Then it's now, around July of 2025, it'll start feeling like your shoe. And I could go into all the reasons why energetically, but I don't have time. It'll start feeling like your shoe when Gemini, or when Uranus goes in the gym. That's quick, that's information, that's variety, that's, oh my goodness, oh, time is going to speed. July is, if I had to highlight a month before I leave, March and July. When Saturn, yes, I'm doing the astrology now. When Saturn and Saturn leaves Pisces along with Neptune and goes into Aries, big energetic shift. And in July, when Uranus goes into Gemini and leaves Taurus, another big shift. 2 months. Two biggest, in my opinion, biggest months of the year. March with that Saturn, Neptune transit into Aries, the first, I won't get into that. And then when Uranus goes into Gemini, really? Y'all know we're going to talk then. Because that's a whole different world. Unannounced, revolutionary, quick, sudden, Uranus goes into Gemini, thinking, duality, curious, ooh. So those are the big month things, in my opinion. I'm sure other prophets have theirs, but that's when I can see, we really see this shift in those shoes beginning to fit. Say, oh, this is why I bought this pair of shoes right here. Right here. AOA Express. And finally, it's going to be a year of innovation. I can't even talk long enough about that. We have seen nothing with AI. There are already inventions. Now, let me say this. I got so much to say. I got 2 minutes, y'all. 2 minutes. I appreciate your time. Thank you. There is a generation of, how can I say this? Inventors coming up that are so brilliant that they would almost appear like they're not human beings. I know, just sit with that. This is how quick and creative the mind is. They exist. And they are inventing things that have not come out to the public yet. They will, especially when Uranus moves into Gemini. But the child, if we call it that, or the kid that we've known, that we came up to be, no longer exists. People are born with the IQ that some people that have been on this planet 30 and 40 and 50 years. Now, I don't have time to get into that, but that's how when the Bible says knowledge will increase, and it's increasing in the womb. I could get into it. It's increasing. You have brilliant people. Yes. That's it. That's it. Brilliant. And it's not going to take them. That's why we got to change what we call the educational system. It's old. It don't work. It hasn't kept up with the evolution of the minds of those who are coming up now. It's dated. That's why they're bored. That's why they don't participate. It's boring. And the reason it's boring is because you have old mindsets at the top of the educational system deciding what that system should look like. They have to go and get, like you all, creative, awakened minds at that system who understand where our children are. Thank you. Yes, daughter, I agree. I agree. Yes, that is your calling, one of them. Because the educational, it doesn't serve the evolution of the minds that are coming into the planet today. And most of the educators are struggling to keep up. And they keep changing the curriculum thinking that's the answer. No, you got to burn the curriculum. It's not in a curriculum. It's in creativity. Understanding the students now, understanding their mindset, understanding, first of all, who can be in an environment for 6 to 8 hours and just, when you're creative, be told to sit down, sit down, sit down. Don't talk. Don't talk. Now, I'm not criticizing. I understand order, but I want you to hear this past that. When you are creative, you can't just sit down. There's energy that you must express. You must talk. You are voicing your creativity. But what we did is we lumped and I don't know how I got into this, but education has to change going into 2020. And if so, and even when there was this battle about technology and in class, I think you could have had both, but you had to change the in-class model. Change the in-class model. You could have had in-class, but you came back from COVID and kept the same in-class model. How about putting these kids in a high-tech room with if you want to keep them for 8 hours, put them in a high-tech, not a 1936 dilapidated building where the roaches are running around and leaks in the back. Come on, y'all. Come on. Don't even try. No. And then talking about they don't want to learn. No. They have evolved over what you're offering. They have evolved over. So when you can't control it, you call it ADD or something, put some medication, because you don't understand how the creative mind, you don't understand how, let me tell you something. And I know we have educators, and I'm not talking to you directly, specifically, but I'm talking, we have a lot of educators a part of Wake Up. One of the things that educators should have to understand is how a genius is wired. Because we get a lot of geniuses. what are the, and maybe they do have them, that training. What is the archetype of a genius? How does a genius think? Now, let's create an environment where a genius, when we get genius, we got an environment where people who are slower why don't we have an environment where geniuses can come in? And people who are 3 to 4 grades above their age can have this experimental environment and move them into something that they can relate to. Move them into a room with buttons and computers and screens. And don't tell me we ain't got the money when all them pay raises gone down to North Avenue. I don't want to hear it. That's a whole nother subject. But we got the money. We got the money. It's where we choose to put the money. It's where we choose to put the money. And what I'm saying in 2025, that's not going to fly. That's not going to fly. Because who's being born today is not the same person or child that was being born 20 years ago, 30 years ago, when the educational system was set up. It is not. It is not. They know how to operate iPads, iPhones, this, that, technology. So that's the environment for them to thrive that they should be in. A technological environment. That's what other cultures have. Hong Kong, China, other countries are heads in, and I know I may seem like I'm all, but I'm still prophesying. This has to change because of what's coming in the earth and because of the dimension of intelligence that are of our children today. Because they are born with certain inherent knowledge that it took us years to get. Yes. Trick. Yes. All right. If you're here on this New Year's Eve, like, share, subscribe. At some point, I knew I thought I would get further than this, but it's so much happening, and I honor your time. I want to say thank you, and I want you to have a great 2025. But remember, it's energy coming into 2025 that it's a brand new world, and we can't approach it the same way. We cannot approach it. It demands we do something different. This demands that we do something and take on something totally different, and that we birth something new.
Welcome to The Voiceover with your host, D. Foster III, where we discuss relevant topics that affect the culture with bold, independent commentary. Get ready to be inspired, enlightened, and encouraged.